Alright, hello everybody. I know that you guys are spending your day on Thursday without me, and I also know that you've been working really hard all week on benchmarks, so I didn't want to give you a homework assignment, but I also needed you to keep moving with the content even though I'm not there. And I know you guys can do that because we have these awesome flip videos. So I decided to leave it for you as classwork. Now notice when we're converting decimals to fractions, this is very, very, very simple. All you need to do, and let's make sure that you definitely write this down, is all you need to do is say the number aloud, okay? So for instance, this number 2.4 translates to 2 and 4 tenths. So if I write that in fraction form, that becomes 2 and 4 over 10, 2 and 4 tenths, which we know now just simplifies to 2 and 2 fifths. Now with longer decimals, it starts to get a little bit more complicated because we have to remember our divisibility rules, but it's still fairly simple, still follows the same rules. So for instance, with this number, this is 3 and 105 thousandths. In other words, whole number 3 and 105 over 1,000. So if I want to simplify this, I'm going to use my divisibility rules and realize that 105 and 1,000 are both numbers that end in a 5 or a 0. And therefore, both of these numbers have to be divisible by 5. So what is 105 divided by 5? Well, if you think about this as 100 plus 5, then you can realize that that's 20. Well, here, let's see. This is 100 plus 5. And if you divide 100 by 5, you get 20. And if you divide 5 by 5, you get 1, which would leave us with 21. And the same thing down here, 1,000 divided by 5 is just going to give us 200. So we've got 21 over 200 with our whole number 3 out front. And I know that 21 is divisible by only 3 and 7, and 1 and itself. And I know that 200 is not divisible by 3 or 7, so that's as simplified as what that number is going to get. Okay, so now we're going to try converting fractions to decimals. It's a little bit more difficult, but not too difficult at all. Notice here we've got 4/6, which is, in other words, 4 divided by 6. Divided by 6. The general rule, and I'm going to write it up top, and I want you guys to write it down too, is that when you're converting fractions to decimals, you want the numerator divided by the denominator. Okay, so in this case we have 4 divided by 6, and in order to divide that appropriately we need to turn that into 4.0. 6 goes into 40 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. When I subtract that I get a 4. I need to bring down another 0. And notice I have the same number. So what's going to happen here is I have this repeating loop where I'm getting the same number over and over. My decimal is going to go on and on forever. So I can simply write this with a fraction bar over top of these numbers, or I can round and say that this is 0.67 or 67 hundredths. Alright, now let's try this problem down at the bottom, which looks more intimidating, but it's really just the same old process. So this is 136 twelfths, or 136 divided by 12. Now, before we move on and try doing this, notice that this number can be simplified. So let's do that and make our lives a little bit easier. Both of these numbers are even numbers. 130, or 136 is the same as 130 plus 6. So I know both of these numbers being divisible by 2, if I pull that out, 130 divided by 2 is 65, and 6 divided by 2 is 3, which leaves me with 68 in the numerator. So that's 68 over, and 12 divided by 2 we know is 6. So that makes things a little bit easier. I could actually simplify it even further, realizing that 68 is divisible by 2. That can become 34. And 6 divided by 2 can become 3. Now this is a way easier number to deal with. I've got 34 divided by 3. 3 goes into 3 once. 1 times 3 is 3. That gives me 0. Bring down my 4. That's 1. 3 times 3 is, or 1 times 3 is 3. I'm going to turn that to a decimal. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9, which gives me 1. When I bring down another 0, I've got, again, 10. And notice this is going to be a repeating decimal once again. So I can write that repetition bar up top, or I can round to 11.33, or 11 and 33 hundredths. Okay, so now that you guys have seen how to convert fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions, I'd like you guys to try and see if you can do this on your own. Once you've finished checking your work, I want you to go check in with the sub and see if you can check on the answers to your practice questions that you did. Once you've got 100% on all 4 of the questions, then you'll be ready to move on to the exit slip. I hope that you guys had a great day with the sub. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow.